The United Nations was born out of the ashes of war to preserve peace and security through collective global action. Though this vision has been challenged in the 75 years since, it has never faltered. But 21st century challenges are formidable. The global pandemic has shaken the foundations of even the most secure and stable nations. But it showed us something else as well. That by working together, we can overcome any hardship. Some nations today are tempted to chart their own courses, convinced they will be stronger alone. But the United Arab Emirates was built on the belief that we are stronger when we are united. Openness to the world has guided the rapid development of our country, defined our foreign policy, and shaped our contributions to the United Nations.
The UAE became a sovereign nation in 1971. There was barely any infrastructure. The airport was a small, temporary building with a single runway. There were no roads, no electricity, no water, in a country that almost 50 years later has just launched the Arab world's first Mars mission. There was a lot of skepticism about whether this place would survive, but our founder, Sheikh Zayed, was prescient in conceiving of the UAE not as 7 emirates, but as one people building a shared future.
The primary goal of the UN Security Council is to maintain international peace and security. As a beacon of stability in a turbulent region, the UAE knows how important and how fragile peace can be.
Achieving peace is not easy, but it is possible. It requires building consensus for disarmament and non-proliferation. It means fighting terrorism and extremism, and it will depend on confronting the climate crisis. On all these fronts, the UAE has been a bridge builder. Overcoming divisions is an essential step in building durable peace.
Peace is not sustainable without the full and meaningful participation of women. The UAE works tirelessly to advance the UN's Women, Peace and Security agenda. We launched the Women, Peace and Security training program in Abu Dhabi in partnership with UN Women to prepare a new generation of women to take on leadership roles in UN peace operations. So far, more than 350 women from 11 countries across Africa, Asia, and the Middle East have graduated from the program, all of them future leaders for peace.
But building a better and more inclusive world begins at home. The UAE empowers women to shape and lead their communities and societies. The UAE has supported UN Women since its inception in 2010. Abu Dhabi hosts a UN Women Liaison Office to support progressive change in the Middle East and beyond. The UAE's founder, Sheikh Zayed, welcomed anyone he thought could help build the nation. Today, the UAE is home to people from all around the world. During the first ever Catholic papal visit to the Arabian Peninsula in 2019, Pope Francis and Dr. Ahmed al-Tayyib, the Grand Imam of Al-Azhar, signed the document on human fraternity to foster peace and mutual understanding.
From the beginning, our founder Sheikh Zayed said that our greatest resource is our people, and therefore we must focus on education. And now the UAE is where the world's best and brightest come to collaborate and turn their visions into reality. Their contributions have helped the UAE become a major financial capital and a global transportation, cultural, and technology hub.
Innovation has fueled our rapid transition to a knowledge-based economy. The UAE is a top destination for startups, scientific collaboration, and research and development. Our dedication to innovation extends even beyond Earth's atmosphere. This summer, the UAE became the first Arab nation to launch a mission to Mars.
The UAE will reinforce its commitment to global cooperation when we open our doors to the world at Expo 2020 Dubai in October 2021. The largest and most ambitious international event in the history of the Middle East, Africa, and South Asia, Expo will act as a platform to unite countries in a constructive dialogue to positively shape the future, ensuring that we leave the world a better place for generations to come.
For the last 5 years, the UAE has been the world's most generous donor relative to gross national income and has prioritized the Sustainable Development Goals in its assistance to more than 175 countries. The UAE believes climate change is a serious threat, but it can also be an opportunity to drive innovation, decarbonization, and green economic growth. But we recognize that other communities are far more vulnerable to the effects of climate change, and they need climate action now. That's why the UAE was one of the first countries to ratify the Paris Agreement. And as the host nation for the International Renewable Energy Agency, we are doing our part to accelerate the transition to climate-resilient economies. Resilience also means increasing our preparedness and ensuring that no one is left behind. Shortly after the global health crisis began, the UAE emerged as a vital logistics and supply center for UN agencies and NGOs, and worked with the WHO to accelerate the delivery of critical medical supplies around the world.
The United Nations and the Security Council are indispensable to resolving conflict and for promoting stability and security for all. But they must adapt to a changing world in order to remain fit for purpose. As a candidate for the Security Council, the UAE pledges to be a constructive partner to address some of the critical challenges of our time, promoting gender equality, fostering tolerance and countering terrorism and extremism, building resiliency to climate change, prioritizing humanitarian relief and sustaining peace, tackling global health crises and pandemics, and lastly, harnessing the potential of innovation for peace. These are among the greatest challenges that the world faces in the 21st century. The UAE stands ready to contribute as the Security Council works to deliver on its mandate to maintain international peace and security.